classics for a while now. Introverts have received a bit of a bad rap, often told to speak up more and come out of their shell. But it turns out there's a bit more to it, and that in some situations being introverted is actually an asset. For more, life coach and self-professed introvert Jess Stuart joins us now. Good morning.
Morning, Chris.
I thought introverts actually were getting a little bit more good publicity lately, actually, and people kind of being a bit more accepting. What's the story here?
We always have this conversation, don't we? Who's better, introverts, extroverts? And depending on how we identify, we think we are better. And yet quite often we're being asked to change something about ourselves, particularly in the workplace, if we are a little less, shall we say, loud and visible, which tends to favour our extroverts. So I think, yes, introverts, it's about how we discover our quiet superpower.
Yeah, so in the work situation, introverts, is it less likely that they will be promoted or receive the sort of acknowledgement that they deserve because they aren't so in your face?
Well, because we live in a world that rewards volume and visibility, it's often more challenging for introverts. But the flip side of that is then we are more conditioned to reflect, consider, listen, and so often the input that we have and the impact that we make can be more powerful as a result. We're gaining insights that others may not, where there's not that reflection, consideration, and that more thoughtful approach.
What is an introvert, and how is it as simple as being a bit more shy and softly spoken?
This is the common myth, right? The difference between introverts and extroverts, and often it just boils down to where we get our energy from and how we recharge. So the myth is that introverts are shy, but actually they're just more thoughtful, reflective, and considered. And so the way I often frame this is that introverts will get their energy from internal things, so they're more inward facing, and extroverts is the opposite. They recharge and they get their energy from more outward, external facing things.
I don't know if it's a fashion thing, but I feel like there are so many extroverted introverts these days. What is going on there?
Well, we are seeing this rise in understanding the superpower of introverts who may have been overlooked in the past. And I think what that might lead to is some extroverts feeling like a bit of FOMO, feeling like they might be missing out. So therefore we describe ourselves as introverted extroverts because it's a little bit fashionable.
Okay, so how do these two work together, particularly in the workplace? How do you make sure that extroverts can actually recognise when they have introverts in their midst? It's like a mythical creature, this now, isn't it?
It is. And I think the reality is we need everything in our workplace, right? All of the strengths. And often this is not a binary thing in terms of putting us in a box. It's more of a spectrum. So you'll often find there are people that have a little bit of both or sit more towards the middle of that spectrum. But we need both. We need people that kind of can think aloud, that are more interested in... The analogy I often use is working from home versus being in the office. And we know that extroverts thrive more in the office, particularly open plan offices, where you can bounce ideas around with each other, think aloud, collaborate. But introverts might need that more quiet, focused space and can thrive more working from home. So I think it's about understanding what makes us tick individually and then knowing how we get the best out of ourselves.
How do you make someone else who's not an introvert aware of the fact that you are one, so you don't have the misunderstanding and judgment?
Yes, and I think this is often us being able to not just understand what we need, but have the permission to ask for it as well. So I'll always advise introverts in meetings to have some pre-reading or some time to prepare, some questions that people might ask them beforehand so that in the meeting they are ready to contribute and can make more of an impact. And of course the same applies after the meeting for follow-ups.
How important is it then for managers and people in those more senior positions to actually recognise when someone is and isn't an introvert? So you feel like a meeting situation, right? You actually want those people to contribute.
Yeah, because that's the role, right? The manager is there to get the best out of the people, and the people are all different. So understanding our people is the key, and then knowing that we have to often adapt our own style to get the best out of different people, rather than thinking, well, I'm an extrovert, and so this is how everybody else should contribute as well.
For an extrovert, if you've got an introvert working with you, is there potential for clash and for the extrovert to mistake that inward thinking and reflection as being judgment on the extrovert?
Unfortunately so. And vice versa, right? Introverts often think that extroverts talk too much and need to stop and listen more. And I think that this is about us understanding our differences and appreciating the differences, because I think as humans we do tend to think if people are not like us, then they must be idiots. And so it's about that tolerance and understanding that not everyone will think like us, and understanding what those different styles then might need and how we all rub along together.
What if someone's not an extrovert, they're just annoyingly loud?
That happens too, right? Probably a separate conversation.
Okay. Jess Stuart, thank you so much for coming in with us. Are you an extroverted introvert or just an introverted introvert?
I'm just an introvert.
Okay.
Just a boring
Love you still the same. No. We'll harness that superpower.
I reckon that because my husband and I are the opposites.